Hello, I'm Jessie at Bob, and I wanted to share with you my absolute favorite sales process. This is a really quick, easy, completely free, and very effective process that you can follow to figure out how you're going to find and bring your customers into your business. One of the reasons I love this process is because here you end up with fast, cost-effective sales and marketing strategy. Not a penny is wasted because you're not building anything, you're not investing in a website, you're not printing flyers unless it's down here on the plan and there is a purpose, a sales purpose for it. My belief is that marketing is a function of sales. Your marketing activity should have a purpose of moving your customer through your sales process, and otherwise, it could just be wasted time and energy and effort. So let's have a look at this because I think it's brilliant. I often do it handwritten when I'm trying to map something out. I use it with clients all of the time, and it's always a goodie. So I really hope you like it. Let's dive in. Here in column A, you have the stages of the process. The stages, this is sometimes called a sales pipeline, a sales funnel, a customer journey. There are lots of different names for it, but ultimately it's how are your future customers going to hear about you, learn what they need to learn in order to make the decision to purchase from you, and then purchase from you, becoming your customers, and then come back, hear about you again, and come back to the top of your funnel and purchase a second time. The best money you can bring into your business isn't from investments and it isn't from investors and it isn't from grants. The best money you can bring into your business is from customers, in my opinion. Right. So column A is the stages of your sales pipeline. Column B is how you're going to get them there and move them forward, what you're going to do, what actions you're going to take. Column C is what you're going to need, or your assets, what you're going to need in order to achieve that step. And then D is a bit of extra notes, anything that didn't fit into one of these ones. So let's start with how. How is your customer first going to hear about you? They might hear of you from word of mouth. Someone's going to tell them that you're wonderful. They might hear about you in a social media advert, a newspaper article. How else? How might your future customers hear about you for the first time? That's what I want you to answer in that square. Now, what are you going to need? What are the things that you will need to invest in, perhaps, whether it's time or money, or the things that you're going to need to go out and find in order to achieve that first step? So, for word of mouth, you're going to need people to talk about you. And you're going, so perhaps it's just saying to your friends and family, please, will you tell people about me? Could be as simple as asking. A social media or social media advertising, you're going to need a page. So that might be a Facebook page or an Instagram page or a TikTok, whatever your preferred platform is. You need the company page set up. You need it to look pretty good or as good as you can get it. If it's a newspaper article, then you need to write a press release, which is what we call a newspaper article that we write about ourselves, and then find someone to publish it or pay someone to publish it. So in the what column, we'll write word of mouth. We need to have friends to know. We want them to tell their friends. A social media advertisement, we're going to use Facebook. We need a Facebook page and some graphics, some images, photos, and perhaps a logo. A newspaper article, we're going to need to think of a good story, write it, and we need the contact details of the newspapers. Don't don't get me wrong, don't sell yourself short. You might think that it's, oh, no one would want to put me in the newspaper, but you would be surprised, especially if it's a local newspaper and it's a good news story. People are interested in that sort of stuff. Maybe you also need some training in media stuff. And actually, there are some really good free courses. And if you go to the BobbAI LinkedIn page, you will see a very good introduction to PR, which is what we call like that public relations, media, stuff like that. There's a very good course. So I will try and put that in this email. Training in media stuff and some help. Need some help. It's hard. Life is hard. Now, once they have become aware of you, they've first heard of you, their friend told them, and then they saw your Facebook ad, and then they read the newspaper article, and they're like, I am hearing about this person. They sound amazing. I want to get to know them. What are they going to do to discover more about you? Probably they're going to Google it. Yeah? So they'll Google it. For them to Google you, you need a memorable name. It's worth thinking about. How will people remember me? Have you tried Google My Business page? These are free. There's a little bit of time taken in them because you have to verify your address and things like that, but they're free and they are worth it. They're also very good for people to leave you reviews, which we'll talk about in a minute. So they're going to Google, oh yeah, how about a website? Websites are a good point for discovery, but it doesn't need to be a £10,000 website. You can do a heck of a lot with £250, for example, doing it yourself with something like Squarespace or Wix. There are lots of very good beginner-friendly website building things that you can use, which are a step or seven before the £10,000 version. And by the way, that's one of the great things about this process is because you can see, well, I do need a website, but what do I need it for? Do I need a fancy one, or can I just get out there with one that gets my name in the public eye? Evaluation. This is an interesting step. So what are they going to think about when they're deciding whether or not to buy from you? If you are a cafe, they might stand on the street. They become aware of you because they walk past your cafe and they see a sign. And they stand on the street and they might look at the menu. So in Discovery, you would put a menu in the window. Like I'll do right now. And in order to do that, you need menu printed. See what I mean? It's so good. And then evaluation is that moment when they think, should I go in? Should I go in and have my lunch here? What sort of things do you think about when you're deciding whether or not to go into a cafe to have your lunch? It might be how crowded it is, how clean it looks, whether there's lots of food in the cabinets, all those sorts of things. It's not just cafes, that's applicable to any kind of business. So evaluation, what are the things that they're going to need to know in order to choose you? So they might want to know your pricing. They might compare pricing to a competitor. What else might they do? They might want to talk to you and decide whether or not they get a good vibe, whether they trust you. So you might need to meet them. They might want to know the terms of trade. So, for example, what's your returns policy or something like that. So they might want to know the terms of trade, all sorts of things. So what's the assets or the what do we need here? We need to know what our own pricing is. So you need prices. I struggle personally with prices. I find it hard. So you need to have worked out what you're going to charge people. If you're going to meet with them, then you would need some way, perhaps in Discovery, they can book in. So we could put that here, like a calendar, a booking link. So if people can book online, and your phone number on your website, things like that. And you will need to be active checking your messages. Now, once they've decided to purchase, what needs to happen for them to actually purchase? So this is the difference between someone going, oh, yes, that sounds fabulous, I would love that, and actually handing you their card. So it could be that they need to have, you need to have customer service, really good customer service. So they're going to walk in to your shop premises and they're going to be greeted warmly and feel at home. So in order to do that, you might need to have a really good talk with your staff. So great customer service. And just make that part of your firm, part of your culture. Or they might need to receive a contract straight away. Now, one thing I see happen, particularly when people are new to selling, is they might not be prepared. So they go out and they think, oh, I'll go and ask someone if they want to buy. But of course, they won't actually want to buy. And then the customer says, yes, I would love to buy. And then my client has to go, oh my goodness, I am not ready for this. Please wait while I go and get it all sorted. 6 weeks later, when they come back with everything they need, they say, here you go. The customer has moved on and they are no longer a customer. In the worst case scenario, what you've just done is convinced someone to buy from your competitor because you've convinced them that they need whatever the product is, but you weren't able to sell it to them. So now they're like, well, I really need this. I'm going to go and find out where else I can get it from. So the other great thing about this pipeline process that we're doing is it means that you'll be ready, you'll be prepared for when your customer says yes. So please forgive me while I quickly format this because it's not doing it for me automatically. Great. So contract might be terms of trade, any kind of information that they need in order to buy. It might be an invoice. So you're ready to just send the invoice. The easier you can make it for someone to say yes and then pay you quickly without much hassle, the better. Okay, purchase. So what is a purchase? What does sold mean for your business? Is it they hand over their credit card and pay at a till? Is it that they sign a contract? Is it that they sign something else like a purchase order? What does sold mean for you? And what do you need in order to sell? So I would say if you are in retail or hospitality, you're going to need payment options like credit card, terminal. So you see, it's how we step it through. Ambassador is when they become your champion. This is the point when they're telling all of their friends and raving about you, and so that more people can come into the top of your funnel and become aware that you exist. Ambassador is a great one because you've already done all of that work to get one customer on board, to move them through your pipeline or your funnel to this stage where they have become a customer and they have purchased with you. Now you can get, it's like a 2-for-1 deal almost. You can get them to tell their friends and they make their friends aware of you. So how are you going to do this? Reviews are really good ways, aren't they? This could be TripAdvisor. It could be Google your business, Google my business. You could ask them to give you a review. You could do some sort of incentive program. So that means if you refer a friend, you both get $10 or £10. Sorry, I'm a New Zealander, in case you couldn't tell by my accent. So it could be that they offer them a discount for referring a friend. Now, if you do that, what I have found works very well is you make it nice and transparent. Then everyone feels good. So, for example, you say, here, if your friend becomes my customer, then you both get $10 off. Pounds. You both get £10 off. That way, your friend is getting everybody wins. So what do you need for that? Well, you need a plan for the offer. What will you offer? How it will work? Are you going to give a little voucher? Are you going to write someone's name down? Is there going to be a discount code? There's all sorts of ways that you can do it. So you're going to have to think up a plan. You could also make sure that you have a Google My Business page. By the way, I'm not sponsored by Google. I just tell you about what I believe works. Google My Business page so that people can go online and leave you a review. TripAdvisor, if you're in hospitality, having a listing on there, and some way of asking people to leave a review. So that might be a week after someone has become a customer, you send them an invitation to leave you a review. You don't know, but I don't know, but that's part of the plan. So you need a plan. I'm going to change this to a plan for how you will ask people to leave you a review. Return is when it's time for them to come back and purchase from you again. Have a think about what that means for your business. If you are a lawn care business and you mow people's lawns, well, then probably every, I don't know, month in summertime, it will be time for them to call you in again. What could you do to prompt them? You could have something in your calendar which says every 3 weeks after a summertime lawn mowing, call Mr. Smith and ask him if he wants his lawn mown. You could also offer Mr. Smith to just have it happen automatically. So you need to know when it's time. How do I phrase that? I think it's just ask yourself, when is it time for them to purchase again? This is an easy one if you're a nail tech or a hair salon or a lawn care business, even a garage servicing vehicles. But it can be quite a tricky one too. If you are a retail outlet and you're selling to people, selling shoes or clothes to people, that's not something that has such a regular or obvious time to come back and purchase. But think about when you've got busy seasons, when you've got quiet seasons. If you put some thought into it, you are the expert of your business. If you put some thought into it, you will be able to tell, actually, I can invite them back for, etc. And so here, the return, it might just be a diary, a calendar, reminders. That's good because it's a free asset. You don't have to pay for that. What other assets do you need to have invested in for them to return, for them to find out? It might be email marketing. You need email addresses and some content. There's all sorts of things. So now if we have a look at this, you can see we have quite quickly and quite straightforwardly mapped out how our customers are going to hear about us and what we need in order to make that happen. Once you've done that, you can choose the most important things and prioritize spending on those. So, for example, a Google My Business page, that's something really easy that you can just do like that. Knowing that you need some help to get your story out there. Okay, well, let's look up free courses. Let's do some YouTube work on understanding how to get my story out there. So this is your sales and marketing plan. Now, I could talk to you about how to improve it and how to learn what's working and what's not working, but all I will say about that is the other good thing about process, if we think about it as a work in progress. So you can see where things are falling down. If you're getting a lot of social media engagement, but no sales, then perhaps you're attracting the wrong people and you need to look at who your customer is. Or perhaps you're not fast enough on getting the contract to them. Or your website is a bit weird when it comes to the payment portal and people are sort of, losing trust. So you can look at each step and figure out, where am I losing customers? Where am I losing the opportunities? So that's what I have to share with you. I hope it was helpful. And if it was, let me know by commenting in the chat. Thank you very much. Goodbye.